4 years later, we would be married. I thank God for his wisdom. Every day, I thank God for bringing Charles into my life. Charles and I started as friends, and that friendship lasted throughout our marriage. A lot of times, we would talk and find that we had come up with the same idea earlier in the day. We talked about everything, disagreed about some things, and stood together in all things. There is so much that I could say about Charles. The stories could last throughout the evening. For some reason, when I was thinking about what I would say about him on this occasion, 2 words stood out from our many conversations about band. When Mr. Butler would talk about his band and their performances, he would always talk about blend and balance. To have his band accomplish this task was important to him. The word blend means to combine or mix, to become merged into one, to unite, to create harmony, to get one sound. Balance is playing together in such a way that each part maintains its relative importance within the piece. In other words, someone may have to play a little softer so the melody can be heard. You can't always shine. Sometimes it's not all about you. It probably didn't occur to Charles that he was blending and balancing in his everyday life. Unselfishly, he balanced his time between his family and his students, and still managed to be top-notch in both. When he brought our 2 sons from Southeast High School to Smith High School, wanting them to experience what he was sharing with other students, he blended the lives of his students with his family. If the band had to perform and your family was going out of town, you spent the night at the butler's house. It was nothing for the phone to ring at 5:30 or later on a concert night. Mind you, the concert started at 7. It's Mr. B. Hey, Donna, what you doing? Would you mind ironing the white shirt and bringing it over here? This boy don't have a dang old white shirt for the concert tonight. Sitting around here, wait till the next minute to tell somebody. Now, mind you, the boy probably was in his office on a headlock. Now tell my wife, thank you. On the other hand, I said, thank you, Miss Butler. Charles gave his time to his students beyond the requirements of Guilford County schools, as well as Martinsville City schools. Not only did he give his time, he gave his love, encouragement, and was a father to many. Anyone in the teaching profession knows the pay is not why you do it. Money can be tight, especially when starting a family. Well, I can remember when we had our first son, Charles, and buying Pampers and paying daycare was added to the already tight budget. At the dinner table one night, Charles told a story about a little girl in his beginner band class and how he had noticed that she was having trouble seeing the board. This being the start of a new year, he didn't know the girl, didn't know her well, but wondered why this child didn't have glasses. The next day, after doing his investigations, he learned that the girl lived with her elderly grandmother and was on public assistance. She had lost her glasses and was not scheduled to get new ones until the next regulated time. He phoned me from school and asked what I thought about us buying the glasses. That little girl did get her glasses. That was Mr. B. He truly cared about his students. Before I met Mr. B, I had never been in a pawn shop, and now I was spending my Saturdays in every pawn shop we ran across, looking for instruments that were fixed in fixable condition and cheap enough for students to afford. If you wanted to play, Mr. B would find a way. It didn't matter what city or state we were in, it seemed that somebody always knew Charles. In Times Square, New York, where there's an estimated 1.6 million pedestrians a day, someone sees him and called out, "Hey, Lebo!" I couldn't believe it. If by chance he was in a place and didn't know anyone, it didn't stay that way for long, because my husband never met a stranger. He flashed that warm smile and would talk to anybody, and I do mean anybody. I remember on spring break last year, we went to Pizza Inn for lunch. Now, this was supposed to be our weekly date where we just took time for us. Well, they were really busy, and after what seemed an eternity, the waiter came and said a booth was available. A Caucasian man stood around the corner just off to the side, so Charles asked him if he was picking up an order. He was actually waiting for his wife to come from the restroom so that they could be seated. Realizing that it would be a while before another booth would be available, my husband looks at him and says, "Why don't we just share the booth?" I couldn't believe he said that. But then, I don't know why, because after 28 years, that should not have surprised me. But I did wonder what that wife thought, because truthfully, my thoughts were not pleasant. I dreaded sitting at a table with strangers. Plus, this was our time. Well, it turned out that there were motivational speakers here from Boston doing a seminar for a company. They thought Charles, with his personality, would be perfect for that profession. They even exchanged email addresses. I must add that we really had a good time talking and laughing. That was Charles blending and me balancing. It wasn't all about me. The word that I dare not mention is adapt. Anyone who has had any contact with the band knows that this is Mr. B's word. It had a permanent spot on his chalkboard for years. Charles didn't let things hold him down. He could adapt to any situation and keep it going. He knew that in life, things didn't always go as planned, and that the world didn't stop just because there was a snag in your plans. Charles taught me that powerful lesson. Anytime things were getting down, he would look at me and playfully say, "What is you gonna do?" He knew standing still and wallowing in self-pity didn't help or make the problem go away. He had to keep on keeping on. Mr. B would always have a plan B. Charles Lee Butler, Lebo, Lee, Elbone, Big, Daddy, Trog, Mr. Butler, Skibo, Butler, Mr. B, Uncle Butler, Bebop, B Natural, Rain, Prince Charles, DJ Mr. B, or Uncle Butler. Whatever name is significant to you, it all balances out the same. A man who in one way or another was a blessing to us all. Let us continue to keep the music playing, and of course, just be natural.